going to listen to the summary of The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself by Michael A. Singer. Enjoy. Introduction. It won't be a surprise to you or anybody else that life is full of struggles. We become jealous, depressed, or even terrified as we are engulfed by our own pessimistic thinking. We feel that we are losing ourselves as a result of these unpleasant emotions. The power of our mind is incredible. It can propel us to new aspects of our imagination and strength. However, it can also drag us down, undermining our positive thinking and burying us in defeatism. The reality is that we cannot fully comprehend our own minds. If we examine the mind more closely, though, we may discover a mystical and powerful awareness that is capable of suppressing the negative thoughts that hold us back and of unleashing the constructive energy that exists within every human being. This summary will teach you how to let go of painful thoughts, develop your consciousness, and put an end to the feelings and intentions that are not good for you, so that you may become your best self. You'll also learn how to uncover your inner energy, how to become free, and where to search for happiness. Key idea 1. Pay attention to what's on your mind, but remember that there's more to you than your thoughts. If we take a moment and focus on the silence around us, we'll hear a voice somewhere inside our mind. For some reason, it's always speaking, explaining, thinking. Your inner monologue rarely takes a breather. You can start learning to recognize your inner voice as you first move toward awareness. You must also acknowledge that what your mind says does not determine who you are. Your thoughts are no more than the manifestations of your consciousness. Your consciousness is the portion of your brain that operates 24/7, analyzing your emotions, your thinking patterns, as well as the data gathered by your senses. You will note that your inner voice fits specific models as soon as you start paying closer attention to it. It can make you feel overwhelmed, angry, or alarmed at times. It has a deep impact on your feelings. We may become so wrapped up in our emotions that we overlook the fact that they are merely products of our consciousness. This is the distinction between self and personal self. Your true self is your pure consciousness, which is free to act however it pleases. The way you treat yourself and analyze the patterns of your thoughts make up your personal self. You can view yourself as moody if you often feel upset, for instance. You might think of yourself as very jealous if you are constantly envious of others. You must acknowledge that these insecurities and this way of thinking do not represent you if you are to become enlightened. Remember, your emotions and you are two separate things. That is because you, the true you, is somewhere deep inside, hiding behind all the thinking patterns and emotions you experience. The question is, how can you find it? Key idea 2. You have a reservoir of inner power, and you have to learn to use it. Why is it that humans are the only creatures that are capable of conscious thought? This question and many others still haven't been answered. Consciousness remains a fascinating and enigmatic concept. It is a strong energy of the tangible world, and it is also an internal power that we all possess. You can achieve impossible things if you learn to control this incredible force. Consider the possibility that your relationship with your partner has ended. You have been lying in bed, depressed and feeling down since then. All of a sudden, your ex calls and tells you that they regret their decision and that they want to see you. You would likely experience a surge of courage, a feeling of vitality. In Chinese medicine, this force is referred to as qi, and in the practice of yoga, it is referred to as shakti. However, you can only sense it if you first open your mind and allow it to circulate. Inner power can appear to be magical or impossible, but it is, in fact, accurate. It is a power that is always available to you, ready for you to make use of it. We try to turn it down on a subconscious level, and its normal flow is disrupted by our involvement. Imagine driving on a street, passing houses, crossroads, pedestrians, and trees. You see your ex, hand in hand with someone else, heading down the road. You will continue to drive, but this one picture will occupy your whole consciousness from that moment on. In your head, you will come back to this moment time and time again. It will make you tense, stressed, and resentful. Bad feelings must be allowed to flow through you in cases like this. If not, the power inside you will never be unleashed, and you won't be able to cope with the bad feelings you're trying to fight. Key idea 3. We're all afraid of something, but fear is only in our minds. Have you ever wondered why most humans tend to focus on the worst outcome or the darkest perspective? The explanation for this lies deep in our history. A long time ago, we were actually increasing our chances of survival when we concentrated our attention on our enemies. Sadly, this natural quality has made us highly vulnerable to distress and paranoia in modern times. With this in mind, Is there a way to move your fears and anxieties out of mind so that you can live freely and happily? Fear is created in your mind, and there are two ways of coping with it. You can acknowledge its existence and let it go, or you can run away from it. Embracing fear as simply a product of the processes of your mind can be very difficult. This is why we so often keep our feelings repressed. To shield ourselves from negative emotions, we plan our daily schedules so that nothing uncomfortable disturbs the peace of our days. Consider an example of when you've had a splinter in your finger. The splinter causes you pain when you touch it, to the point where it may be keeping you awake at night. You have two options in this situation. One is to change your sleeping routine so that nothing comes into contact with the splinter in order to avoid the pain. The second is to tackle the issue directly and take the splinter out. Overcoming fear is similar to extracting a splinter. You must first recognize that it's an independent object that must be taken out. It's not a component of you. Fear is a product of repressed energy, which should actually be reaching your heart. Because of this, your heart will weaken, leaving you more vulnerable to negativity. To live without fear is impossible. What is possible, though, is for us to realize what fear actually is and keep it within our control. Key idea 4. Think bigger to expand who you are. The secret to inner development is liberating yourself from distressing emotions and thinking patterns. But how can you do it? Is it hard to free yourself? Well, imagine there's a way to train your consciousness to focus on something other than the self that is made up of your thoughts and emotions. Your mind might then move past that and turn into something far deeper. Your personal self, the mental construction formed over time by your thoughts and emotions, is tightly bound up in your consciousness. Your personal self serves the same role as a prison that your mind is unable to escape. If you have ever visited a zoo, you have likely felt sorry for the animals confined in tiny cells. You too are imprisoned in a cell, the one of your own creation, where your self is confined. We set barriers for ourselves in our own minds to feel protected from something that undermines our sense of identity. Your mind will grow as you free yourself of negative thinking. Have you ever been so engrossed in a film that you paid no attention to the rest of the world? Your consciousness functions in a similar way. It is always so preoccupied with emotions that it shuts out crucial things happening in your life. This is referred to as clinging by Buddhists. You are creating a prison for yourself when you keep clinging. By freeing yourself from such emotions, you will notice how much more space you have when your mind is not attached to the thoughts, impressions, and feelings that fill it. Your mind grows as soon as you enable these thoughts to pass through you naturally. More than that, not even pessimism will be able to hold you back. All your thoughts will merely pass. You will be free to become your true self through acceptance. Key idea 5. Remembering that we are mortal helps us appreciate life more. No other animals but humans are capable of thought and reason. This is one point that distinguishes us from all other creatures. Another one is that humans are the only beings that are conscious of the fact that they will perish at some point in the future. Across the entire history of human experience, people have lived with this idea. The idea of death is undoubtedly terrifying, and yet it provides purpose to existence. Imagine that today is your last day. What do you want to do? For yogis and saints, death is to be welcomed with open arms. "O death, where is thy sting?" exclaimed St. Paul. "O grave, where is thy victory?" Awareness of mortality will make the experiences in your life more important and valued. Let's say you're a very possessive individual. At a party, you see your spouse speaking to someone else, and that makes you angry. Now imagine what would happen if you suddenly died. How does her talking to someone in that case make you feel? Would you want her to be left alone if you were gone? When you consider mortality, you may notice that the most significant thing is the happiness of your loved ones. You realize it's not worth causing a scene or having an argument simply because she was spending some time with someone else. Reflecting on mortality will set your priorities straight. Think of all your daily tasks and amount of time and resources they take. Now picture knowing your death will happen within several days. Wouldn't that make a big difference in your life? You may decide to use your time to make a difference somehow, to do something special. If you're not doing this now, then what is it that's stopping you from reaching your full potential? You may think you're focusing on very important things, but it's crucial to engage in something that makes you happy every day. If you do that, it won't matter when your death comes, because you will die happily. Key idea 6. Enlighten yourself with philosophy. Unfortunately, many of us make promises to ourselves that we never fulfill. This doesn't make us liars, but it does mean we don't give ourselves enough opportunities to fulfill these promises. One of the world's most profound philosophical teachings, the Tao Te Ching, asserts that there is a path or Tao between opposites that results in the best outcome. Consider the following scenario. You're in love with someone and want to spend every waking minute with that person. You want to be together so much that you're becoming annoying. How long do you think that contact between you two will last? Consider the opposite scenario. You enjoy being self-sufficient, living alone, and exploring new places and activities. You have not physically been with your partner in a long time, or even years. Can this be called a relationship? In both of these drastic scenarios, your relationship would likely disintegrate. You must find the Tao in the middle ground if you want a stable and long-lasting love. It's the same with other things in life. We lose a lot of power when we drift away from a path of harmony. Imagine trying to get from point A to point B. If we walk around without a clear trajectory, maybe even getting lost, it will take much longer to arrive at the right place. And when you do, you'll be exhausted. You can instead follow a path, take less time, and preserve more energy. In other words, to everything there is in life, there is an appropriate course. As soon as you find and commit to that course, you will be able to say that you're happy with the balanced life you're living. Final thoughts. There's a deep part of you that lives free of pessimism, fear, and jealousy. This is the real you. This is why you should not get too caught up with a single thought. By doing so, you would be imprisoning yourself in a cell. You will be stronger, happier, and more informed as soon as you master the ability to let go of thoughts and enable your inner energies to pass through. Keep in mind to listen to your inner voice. You will not be able to reach enlightenment until you embrace your real feelings, even the unpleasant ones like envy or anxiety. Rather than suppressing your emotions, feel them so that they may flow freely without stifling your true personality.